Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Counselor Spot, where we discuss mental health, counseling strategies, and how we can better support our students and our children at home. My name is Nelson Aguilar, mental health professional, licensed professional counselor, and school counselor. Today, I want to give you a very informative presentation that I've created. I've given this presentation to parents, teachers, and other mental health professionals. I like to see it as a very comprehensive approach to understanding bullying. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, the name of this presentation is called Bullying, Building a Stronger School Community. Okay, and I'll tell you the premise of the presentation itself. Uh, I work as a school counselor, and as of recently, we've had what seems to be an influx of bullying allegations. Now I say allegations, right? And that's very important to note, allegations, because a lot of times it turns out that it's not bullying, right? But we are mislabeling what bullying actually is. So this presentation is going to kind of give you a comprehensive understanding, if that makes sense, of bullying. All right. So once again, bullying, building a stronger school. So I want to go ahead and get started with a think and reflect section. Okay. And this is a really good opportunity to put ourselves in the shoes of our students. Okay. Many of us have actually uh, been bullied, or were the bullies, or were bystanders of bullies. There's so many different types, right, of uh, of roles that people or students and children can play in bullying, right? So the first question is, how many of you here today watching this video were bullied as children? Kind of go back and reflect on that. Okay, how many of you here watching the video once again were bullies as children? Again, and think about the reaction that you would get from the students or the child that was being bullied. Think about that, reflect on that now. And how many of you here witnessed bullying as children or knew of someone that was bullied as a child? And I'm going to raise my hand on this one. um, I was a bystander to bullying. I wasn't a bully myself. Okay, and I wasn't bullied as well. But I do remember my friends, bullying others and me just standing by, not doing anything. But now as I reflect, this is a perfect opportunity to do that. As I reflect, I think back and I know that's very wrong, right? Because now as a father, now as an educator, now as a counselor, I put things into perspective and I'm thinking, wow, that other child, other person, that other individual was really feeling some type of way, you know, and I know that I could have made a difference, right, by telling my friends to stop, or by advocating for that other person, you know. Today, as I mentioned, as we're reflecting, as a father, these are some of the things that I instill in my kids now, not only my biological kids, but my students as well. I always tell my students every time I go into one of their classrooms and I give them a lesson, I always tell them, I'd rather be someone's hero than someone's bully. And that's kind of like a little catchphrase that we've, kind of implemented around campus, whether it's during bullying prevention or any day of the week, as a matter of fact. I'll ask the students, hey, you're being a hero today, and that way they can, kind of think about that for a minute, not thinking, oh, I'm going to be a bully. No, I'm going to be a hero, right? So good time to reflect. Okay. For on the agenda, there's a couple of things I want to go over. Okay. Number one, the distinction between negative behaviors. Um, there's different types of negative behaviors that can be, once again, misidentified as bullying. Okay, so I want to go over that. What is actual bullying as far as the legislative definition goes? Is your child being bullied? Are our students being bullied? What can we do if we suspect bullying? What can we do if our child is being bullied? Um, and what can our districts or campuses do, right? And of course, at the end, I'll put up I'll put up a QR code for resources. And of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section or send me an email, which will be listed as well. Okay. All right, so here are the three different negative exhibiting behaviors that our children and our students are displaying is rude, mean, and bullying, right? So to begin with, rude behavior, there are many types of negative behaviors, but I'm going to address these three as they pertain to bullying. Okay, and one of the biggest misconceptions is that when students are mean or rude, they are being bullies, right? As parents, it is normal to feel frustrated and to take an emotional approach to understanding why the other students are treating our little ones as such. But the truth is, these negative exhibiting behaviors are very, very different. So, rude behavior, it's unintentionally hurtful, often impulsive or thoughtless. For example, interrupting, right? That can be very rude. Um, and I'll use my little ones, my 5-year-old, for example. The one thing that we're teaching him right now is how to be polite, right? And one of the biggest things, and it's okay because at his developmental age, it's all about egocentrism, and I'll talk about that. But for example, if I'm having a conversation with my wife, right, we're having a conversation, and he'll come and interrupt, and he'll be like, "Mommy, mommy," or "Papi, papi," that is rude. It's rude behavior. Again, we're gonna talk about why he's acting the way he is, right? So that's rude behavior. Mean behavior. This is the one that gets pretty much, you know, um, kind of intertwined with bullying, right? Mean behavior because it is purposefully being hurtful. It is often aimed to insult or demean, but it's not repeated. Notice the key word there, repeated. Okay. Mean behavior can be a lot of things, right? In my past, I've had people tell me, your shirt looks ugly or your shoes look ugly, right? Or I can't hear you, speak up, and you're babbling. I get that a lot. Um, that's being mean, right? But it's not necessarily being bullied. We are being hurt by those words, and that's not okay. Being mean is not okay, right? But it's not bullying. Okay, bullying is repeated intentional harm involving a power imbalance, whether it's physical, verbal, or emotional. Again, and I'm going to emphasize on a couple of things here. Intentional, of course, but repeated more than anything, and a power imbalance. All right. So we must be able to recognize these distinctions to help us ensure that we are taking the proper response, right? So let's put things into perspective really quick. Mean behavior repeatedly and with a power imbalance is definitely bullying, right? But kids can be rude, children can be mean, and eventually can lead to bullying, right? And one of the things I always tell my teachers is to remember those two things. Is it repeated or is it a power imbalance? Now, that's not to say that a single act cannot be considered bullying. If it's a single act that is, how do I say this? I'm going to use these words like in a major scale, right? Then I will consider that bullying, and the legislative definition will also. Let me give you an example of that. We have a high school student. This is just an example. High school student who finds some pictures of another student, right? Makes a meme, right? And posts it online, and it goes viral. That is not repeated, but it is a single significant act, right? And it does equate to a power imbalance because here's a person who has used social media to spread it like wildfire, right? That was a single act, but there is a power imbalance, and that in itself would be considered bullying. In this case, cyberbullying. Okay, let me go ahead and continue. All right, this is something that I created to kind of help my students understand the difference between these exhibiting behaviors. For example, being rude, being mean, and what is bullying. And I created this because I had, as I mentioned before, an influx of students coming in to my office and telling me, so and so is bullying me, so and so is bullying me. And when I engage in conversation with my students, and I start asking them, okay, tell me a little bit about what's going on, right? They plainly say, "Oh, they were just being mean to me today." Okay, well, that's not bullying, right? It looks like bullying, but it's not because we're missing, two very critical components, which is the repetitiveness of it and the power imbalance, right? So this is a very cool little guideline that I created for them. It basically explains to them what the different behavior is, what it looks like, and what they should do. And I always emphasize to my students, if they're being rude, then tell them that they're being rude. You're being rude. That is not kind. Use I statements. Speak to the teacher. Come to me, the counselor or a principal, right? If they're being mean, definitely tell an adult. Speak to the teacher, counselor, principal, tell your parents. But if it's repetitive, right, and there's a power imbalance, then they should tell an adult immediately, take immediate action. Okay, and I should have done this before, but let me go ahead and explain what a power imbalance is, because there's so many different types of power imbalances, right? It just depends on the perspective of the person. So one of the easiest ways to notice or to see a power imbalance is if it's a bigger kid with a smaller kid, right? If it's an older kid with a younger child, right? It could even be social status, right? It could be someone who's more well off and somebody who's low socioeconomic, right? Somebody who's more popular with a less popular person, things like that. That power imbalance, and then you add the repetitiveness, definitely. Okay, let me continue here. All right, so now let's go into the definition of what bullying is, right? So, bullying is repeated physical, verbal, or psychological attacks or intimidation directed against a victim who cannot properly defend himself or herself because of size or strength, or because the victim is outnumbered or less psychologically resilient. Notice repeated and power imbalance. So, there's two key components as I was mentioning, okay? Uh, Repeated harmful acts or an imbalance of power. But again, I want to add in there if it's a single significant issue or event, right? But we cannot confuse bullying with the old school mentality way of saying kids are being kids, right? And there's obvious opportunities for conflict resolution, okay? If two kids are fighting, then we should feel comfortable to you know look at the situation, assess the situation first and foremost, right? Because we never want to put a victim and a bully together. But if it's something where it's two friends that are just fighting with each other and they're claiming they're both bullying each other, then this is grounds for conflict resolution, right? The kids being kids, let's just and believe it or not, more often than not, I get two kids coming to my office upset that they don't want to be friends anymore. At the end of the day, they're back to being friends. Whether they're teenagers or whether they're elementary age, children, it's the same thing. Okay. Once again, there's many forms of bullying. We have physical assault, intimidation, name calling, isolation or rumor spreading, destruction of property or work, theft, demands for money, and online internet social media harassment. Now, I told you guys at the beginning of the presentation, there's not one single or two roles, in bullying. There's multiple, right? You got your bully, you got your bully followers, your bully supporter, your passive supporter, your disengaged onlooker, your possible defender of the one being bullied, the defender who's actually standing up, you have the victim, and then you have the bully victim. And I always tell my teachers, I always ask them, is there such thing as a bully victim? And this is where they kind of freeze and they're looking like, can you be both? Yes, definitely you can be both. Okay, so and I'll give you an example. I have a student who was a victim of bullying, right? Repeated repeated behavior by the bully. There was a power imbalance, but at the same time this student was doing the same thing to another student. you know That's one way of seeing it, that you have a victim who's bullying somebody else. Or another way to see it is that the bully themselves are a victim, right? Because of other circumstances, maybe home life and family dynamics, and the home environment is just not, conducive to the child's emotional and social well-being. Maybe the child is being bullied at home by the parents. It happens. It happens when, you know, the father or the mother will tell their children, "You're not good enough," right? So, like I said, there is different ways of seeing what a bully victim is. It all depends on perspective, of course. Okay. All right. So, where does bullying occur? Most often occurs where adult supervision is low or absent. And I've seen this. As I mentioned, I'm a school counselor. I work on campus. It happens in the schoolyards, in the bathrooms, in the hallways, right? In the cafeterias, right? Classrooms and school buses, internet texting, instant messaging, online gaming, online groups, Facebook, you name it. Where there is less adult supervision, that's where bullying is going to occur. I mean, it's obvious. Kids know they're going to get in trouble. So they have to watch out for what they're doing, right? Profiles. This is very generic, very general, right? Uh, this is what we all, have a visual of what bullies are and what victims are, right? In these situations. So bullies exhibit aggressive behavior or a need to dominate, may have a history of being bullied themselves, often seek attention or power. And now I've seen bullies with the opposite behavior. They're the smart kid. They're the quiet kid. Um, that's what I'm saying. This is more generic, right? This is what we're kind of used to seeing. But in reality, bullies, um, they come in all shapes and sizes. For lack of better words. Okay. Victims, they'll display anxiety, sadness, and withdrawal. This is certain for sure. Okay. May avoid school or specific situations and show unexplained physical injuries or damaged belongings. Okay. So maybe they'll come home with a ripped shirt or a ripped lunchbox or broken watch or something like that. And those are signs. But definitely displaying anxiety, sadness, and withdrawal. And you'll have students who do not want to come to school, right? They'll tell their parents. They'll come up with something. They'll come up with, you know, a some medical excuse, right? My stomach hurts, and of course, as parents, we check our children, we check our kids. There's nothing there. The symptoms are not there, but it could be a symptom of being bullied, right? Let me continue. This is a very important part. This is where the licensed professional counselor and clinical mental health professional of me, the side of me comes out, is facts and information about cognitive development in elementaries. This is very important to note. I made it um, I made it a priority to emphasize this to my teachers. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk about this for a minute. Okay, so we have Jean Piaget's four stages of cognitive development. Okay, four stages of cognitive development. As you can see here, these are the stages, right, of developmental age. We have sensory motor age stage. We have the pre-operational stage. We have the concrete operational stage, and the formal operational stage. Now, normally, and I say normally because it happens everywhere, and in all ages. Normally, bullying is more rampant in the pre-operational stage. Okay, and that is from ages 2 to 7. Okay, and I'm just gonna read really quickly what it says on here. It says the child uses symbols, words, or images to represent objects, but does not reason logically. Okay, those are two keywords right there. Reason logically. The child also has the ability to pretend. During this stage, the child is egocentric. That's the keyword right there. Egocentric. So the world outside the child's perspective does not exist. They're learning kindness. They're learning empathy, right? So to them, being mean is okay. They're learning that it's not okay. But at this, like I said, at this cognitive developmental stage, they're egocentric. So it might be that they are displaying mean behavior, right? That may seem intentional. But a lot more often than not, it's just them not knowing any better. And this is where we come in as teachers, we come in as parents, is that we got to teach our kids, we got to teach them young what kindness is and what empathy is and how to stand up for others, right? This is where it counts. This is where it matters at this stage right here, from ages 2 to 7. Okay, so let me continue. And here I put more information on Piaget's pre-operational stage. It says here their understanding of the world is still very self-centered. This is referred to egocentrism, as I was mentioning right now. Egocentrism can manifest as a lack of awareness of how their actions impact others, leading to behaviors that might appear unkind or even hurtful. Okay, and I give you guys an example here. It says a child might grab a toy or push another child without realizing the emotional or physical consequence of their actions. While these behaviors may seem like bullying, they're often, um, you know, the fact that they have developmental limitations and it's not intentional harm. Okay, very important section to note. Now let's look at what we can do if we suspect our children are bullies. If we suspect that our child is a bully or our students, what if our students are the bullies? What can we do and how should we react? So let's go ahead and take a look at this section really quick. All right, so as parents, it's very difficult to hear that our child is involved in bullying. But addressing it is a powerful step towards creating positive change in our children. And this goes the same for you teachers, right? It's very difficult to hear that one of our students is bullying someone else, right? Because we don't want to seem like that. Because our children, both as teachers and parents, our children are a reflection of us, right? Of what values that we're instilling in our children, right? But once again, if our child or if our students are being bullies, okay, this is the proper way to address it. Number one, we must stay calm and open-minded. We must avoid reacting with anger or defensiveness. Let's listen carefully to what the school or others are saying about the situation. Remind yourself that addressing this can help your child grow emotionally and socially. Okay. Number two, we need to have an honest conversation. Talk with your child calmly and non-judgmentally about the situation. Ask basic questions like, can you tell me what happened? And hear their perspective. Help them understand the impact of their actions, right? And one really good way of doing things and having them see it from others' perspectives is have them walk in their shoes. Explain to them how it might feel to be in that person's shoes, the person who is being bullied. How are they going to feel? How do their friends feel? How do their parents feel? You know, give them that perspective. Allow them to see from that lens. Teach empathy and accountability. Once again, I'll go back to Piaget's cognitive development stages, right? Teach empathy and accountability. Okay, emphasize the importance of kindness, respect, and treating others the way they want to be treated. The golden rule. That's what I tell my students all the time. Encourage your child to take responsibility for their actions. Once again, if they're being the bully, we have to teach them that, hey, apologizing is okay. Saying sorry is okay. Even as adults, it's okay for us to apologize. And when I gave this presentation to some of the teachers, I let them know that as an adult, I have actually apologized to my children. When I've done something that later on I kind of reflect on it, I'm like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You know, then I'll tell them, you know what, I'm sorry for saying that, or I'm sorry for doing that. It was wrong. It's okay to apologize. We got to teach our kids very young. We also want to set clear expectations and consequences. Okay, explain that bullying behavior is unacceptable. Set firm but fair consequences if it happens again. Be consistent and reinforce the positive behaviors and addressing the negative ones. Number 5 is modeling positive behavior. This is what I was saying a while ago, is that we need to show our children how to handle conflicts. We're the ones that they look up to. You know, if we get frustrated or if we're in disagreements, we got to teach them how to handle those things in healthy ways. You know, um, and I'll give you guys an example. I've had students who are very, once again, emotionally charged, right? And they come to school very angry and they'll say bad words. And when I'm talking to them in session and whatnot, they'll tell me, well, my parents do it all the time, so who cares? Okay. This is what I mean. We have to model that positive behavior. Okay. We have to demonstrate empathy, kindness, and respect. All right. Work with the school. If you suspect your child is the bully, partner with teachers, counselors, and administrators. Develop a plan to support your child in making better choices. As a school counselor, I will create a counseling plan that would target the areas that I know or that I have assessed that the student needs to work on. You know, for example, if it's someone who is the bully, I'll give them counseling lessons on empathy, kindness, respect, those type of things. If it's a child that's being bullied, right, then I'll give them counseling lessons on resilience, right? Um, Building their self-confidence, their self-esteem. Um, I want to go back and say that if your child is the bully, I also give them lessons on conflict resolution, right? Or better communication or expressing their emotions. Because a lot of times the bully is angry, right? And they tend to want to act out physically. That's the way they express themselves. Well, I try to give them different tools and resources not to be physical, right? Or not to be bullies. We also want to focus on positive outlets. Encourage um, your child to get involved in sports. They need those outlets. They need to release that energy. Sports, arts, and other group activities can foster teamwork and build self-esteem. Okay. And also, once again, and lastly, if your child is a bully, if the behavior persists, right, then the best thing to do is speak to your pediatrician. Okay. And consider reaching out for additional support outside school. And if you are um, open for behavior therapy, go for it. If you are open for just therapy um, in general, go for it. Any additional support will help your child. And this is one thing I always tell my parents when I talk to them on the phone. I'm like, hey, look, we have something deeply, deeply in common, and that is what's in the best interest of your son or daughter. As a counselor, I want nothing more but for them to be safe, healthy, social, and emotionally well adjusted. Okay, let me continue here. All right, so the most important mitigating factor has to be parental support. Okay, higher parental support was associated with less involvement across all forms and classifications of bullying. Okay. Some myths about bullying. My child would report bullying. Truth is, most children do not report bullying to adults. Why? Because they feel ashamed and they don't want to worry their parents. The fear of retaliation, the fear of telling, that, what they call snitching will make it worse. Fear that they would not be believed, right? It would be worse to be a snitch. Poor past response as well. Okay. Now, my child is not bullied or is not being bullied. Are you sure? Many parents underestimate risks and their child's involvement in problem issues, and overestimate level of communication at home. Once again, open communication. Open that communication with your children, with your students. Okay, we want to be able to give them an environment, like I said, that is conducive to their social and emotional well-being, where they feel comfortable in speaking up, right? And then, of course, talk about it anyways. You know, talk about not partaking in behavior, in negative behavior, and report it if it does happen. What can you do if your child is being bullied? So if it's the opposite now, if your child is being bullied, number one, and I've seen this a lot, I have parents say, "Well, I want to talk to the other child's parent. I want them to meet." No, that's not a good idea. Don't force a meeting between your child and the bully. Do not contact the parents of the child who's being bullied. Okay? And follow up with your child. Create a safe home environment with open communication. Help develop your child's positive attributes and seek professional help. Okay, seek professional help. If your child is being bullied, you also want to work with your child's school. Okay, you want to check your emotions, contact your child's teacher and her principal, and provide the facts. What did my child say? You want to work collaboratively and find out your school's policy regarding bullying. Okay, and expect the bullying to stop. And if it does not stop, contact the school officials again. Let me continue. All right, so what can your district or your campus do? If you're a teacher, right, or if you're a parent and you want to provide some ideas for your child's school. Here are some of the things that your district or your campus can do. Number one is use a bullying checklist. I'm in Texas, right? And this is the Texas School Safety Center bullying checklist for schools. This is a framework that evaluates whether specific behaviors meet the criteria for bullying. Okay, so this tool combined with the guidelines outlined in SB 179, also known as David's Law, enables schools to identify acts of bullying based on the legislative definition. Okay, so and these questions that they ask here on the bullying checklist, they're very easy to understand. So basically, this is how it works. You start checking off the different what do you call it, questions, right? That it's asking you, and if you stop at any moment before you get to this to the gold section that towards the bottom, then it is not considered bullying. For example, if it was a single significant act, check. If it was a pattern of acts, checked. Was there an imbalance of power? Well, no, there wasn't, because they were going back and forth, so there was no imbalance there. So then it's not considered bullying as per the legislative definition. So you continue from there, all right? And then, of course, talk to your district, talk to your campus about how they would proceed with the next step. I notify the parents that there is no bullying? What do you do? Okay, we continue here. You want to set campus core values. Now, in my campus where I work at, we have three core values, and I repeat them every morning during the announcements that I make. I tell my students, don't forget, we're going to continue practicing our three core values of being safe, being responsible, and being respectful. Right? So, and we kind of emphasize on that. If we see a student acting a certain way, we'll go ahead and remind them, right? So, Johnny, are we being safe today? Are we being responsible? Are we being respectful? Right? So these are the kind of values that we set and we emphasize on, and we kind of make sure that the kids are following it. Effective school interventions. You want to use a school-wide intervention. Uh, and again, I'm just speaking from what I do at my campus. We have PBIS, right? So we create and enforce these anti-bullying policies. We emphasize zero tolerance for bullying behavior, and we use frameworks like PBIS, right? Which I'm going to explain to you right now. So what is PBIS? PBIS is positive behavior intervention and supports. It's a proactive school-wide framework designed to improve school climate, promote positive behavior, and increase academic success. It focuses on teaching and reinforcing appropriate behaviors while preventing negative behaviors through structured support systems. So as you can see here, here's one of our classrooms. We have one of our, classroom of our little ones. Notice they have, this is what we call peace and quiet. They'll put their, one finger to their lips and then two fingers up, so, peace and quiet, right? And this is behavior that we model ourselves throughout our campus. We'll do peace and quiet as we're walking with our kids, and at the end of the 6 weeks or the grade reporting, we incentivize positive behavior. And we, as you can see in the picture, we offer a store, right? We open up a little store, and they earn what we call gladiator bucks. Okay, they earn their bucks. They start saving them up, and at the end of the grade reporting period, they go to our little store and they can cash in those gladiator bucks that they've earned through positive behaviors in the classroom and around campus, and they can get themselves little trinkets, a bunch of little things that they can get, bookmarks, erasers, stickers, and we have even bigger things like those bubble ones, and bigger toys, Hot Wheels, stuff like that. They'll be able to cash in for their positive behavior and the fact that they've earned those gladiator bucks in the classrooms. We also foster positive school climate. So this is where I go into the classrooms along with my intern, and we incorporate social emotional lessons, right? We teach empathy, we teach self-regulation, we teach conflict resolution, we'll teach, we'll be anti-bullying, we'll have, these discussions on, gratitude, all these things, right? So this is one thing that we do. So we foster a positive school climate. We also promote inclusivity, respect, and kindness throughout the school through campaigns, right? And these campaigns foster social and emotional growth. This campaign in particular was an anti-bullying campaign that we held at our campus, and it's a very cool little activity that the kids do. So it's I pledge to be kind, let's stick together, right? So the whole point of this is for students to write their name on a sticky note, and then they would put it on a piece of tape, and they would put it on the poster board, right? They would write their name on a piece of tape, basically pledging to be anti-bullies, and we'll stick it on the poster board. And at the end, the whole poster board is filled with names of these kids who have pledged to be anti-bullying, and we'll go ahead and hang it in the cafeteria or outside for parents to see. And I also do school interventions with our staff and faculty. I train staff and faculty. I conduct training on recognizing and intervening and preventing bullying. I provide professional development on culture competence and trauma-informed practices, things that they can use in the classrooms. I give teachers the tools that they can utilize in the classrooms. And I always say there's three stages to this, right? You have your prevention, intervention, and postvention, and I'm very big on that. So what are we going to do? What are we doing to prevent negative behaviors in the classroom? Not necessarily bullying, just in general negative behaviors, right? When it happens, what are we doing as an intervention? What are we providing? What supports are we providing? What tiers, tier one, tier two, tier three supports are we providing, right? And then lastly, postvention, right? Or what happens after? We follow up, right? We continue implementing our classroom management and our practices in our classroom, right? But at the same time, now we're doing something more, right? What's the follow up? Are we going to create a counseling plan? Are we going to create a behavioral plan? Are we going to create a conduct agreement? What is it that we're going to do? I train staff and our faculty to do those things and to think like that, right? With that three-step process. All right, so in conclusion, okay, once again, I want to go back and talk about, and let me put the QR code up there. Okay. I want to talk about, understanding the differences, again, understanding the differences between the distinctions between the negative behaviors that students display, right? It could be rude, it could be mean, and bullying, right? We also discussed the profiles of the bullies, uh, the different roles, right? Where it happens. We discussed what we can do if our child is the bully or if our students are the bully. We discussed what we can do if our child is being bullied, right? And then we discuss some of the things that we can do as teachers, as parents, that we can again promote, right? Or suggest to our students or our kids, campuses, and districts. So these are some of the things that we can do, guys. I really hope that this presentation gave you, some sort of insight into what bullying truly is and how to identify it. That way we can stop misidentifying bullying, right? And we can, because look, in essence, the important thing is to be able to identify what it truly is so we can use the proper responses. If we're not identifying bullying, real true bullying, then how are we supposed to stop it? Right? And I feel like that's the main point here, is being able to identify that. And at the same time, of course, help our children, help our students, because they are the most important thing. Well, anyways, I'll leave you here with this. It's a QR code for a brochure for bullying information for parents or teachers alike, right? If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section or send me an email. I'll go ahead and add it in the bio as well. So that is all for today. I'm hoping this helped a little bit somehow, and I'll see you guys on the next one, okay?